this is very interesting. Vars 2, why Genshin Impact is losing popularity. Isn't this guy like a big Hoyo dude? Wait, this guy is a huge Hoyo creator. A colossal Hoyo creator. Wait, so a Hoyo creator is saying why Genshin is losing popularity? Very interesting. Let's get in there. Let's see what he has to say.
My video a couple weeks back on the problem with Genshin's modern character design, I was expecting there to be a lot of discussion in the comments over how players feel about the direction of its characters. And while unsurprisingly, most of the comments were in agreement with the sentiment that things just don't hit like they used to, I did not anticipate there to be so many people expressing discontentment towards the subject at hand. Over 2,500 comments at the time of writing this in a video with around 110k views is an insane percentage, but it is understandable why. Version 5 has been a major turning point for Genshin Impact, for better or worse, although at this point we can comfortably surmise that even if there are people who like the new stuff, a substantial number of players feel disillusioned by the state of the game. I even made a video talking—
Yeah, that's because the state of the game is immersion breaking. There is no sense of cohesiveness in the writing or the characters or the designs in any way, shape, or fucking form. The game has made itself feel dystopian to itself. It's like walking into a McDonald's and expecting a McDouble, and you go in and there's like Nintendo Switch titles on the side. And you realize, wait, this is a fucking GameStop. It just makes no fucking sense because the world is prehistoric dinosaurs and the characters are BDSM prostitute motorcycler, slutty B-shorts prostitute DJer, fat fuckable cow. You know, it's like, bro, what are we doing here?
Talking about how Natlan would be Hoyo's last chance to maintain Genshin's position as the number one gacha game, and it's just painful to see it be true. People have always crashed on this game ever since the day it came out, but never on this grand a scale. Such a topic isn't unfamiliar to us by any stretch of the imagination. For years, there's been a video every month from one creator or another.
And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Saying Genshin Impact was dying was true. It has been on a downward trajectory since launch, right? We don't have any huge resurgence like we saw with WuWa 2.0. It's been getting progressively fucking worse. So yeah, it is dying. It doesn't mean that it's dead, right? But I agree. And this Tectone title, Genshin Impact is officially dead, bro, where the CEO goes on stage and cries because people were mean to the game. Fuck that. That's the guy who's in charge of the game. And he said he was going to fix everything. Brother, crocodile tear lying motherfucker, you fix nothing besides your bank account from 7 zeros to 8 zeros. Ridiculous.
Complaining that Genshin is dying. I've also
why don't you wipe your tears on your fucking 19th yacht?
One before back in 2023 regarding burnout.
Chad, do y'all think it's a coincidence that the CEOs of Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse are all multimillionaires? Because they could, instead of lining their own pockets, make the game fucking better. But they're not.
Those points still stand, mind you, but this is a much worse situation.
Oh, billionaires, my bad.
My video on Genshin.
My bad. Billionaires, my bad.
Genshin's modern character design, I wanted to make one discussing if Genshin Impact is losing popularity as a whole. Back when the game first came out in 2020, a major reason for its generational success was that in addition to being released at a time where society at large was mostly confined indoors and looking for something to pass the time, to say that Genshin revolutionized the mobile and gacha industry would be an understatement. Having been a gacha prisoner, I mean player, since I think 2015, I always saw gacha games as mobile titles meant to just keep you entertained during brief moments of idling throughout the day. Prevailing wisdom shared the belief that there was a clear divide in quality, production value, and so on between mobile games and console and PC ones. Sure, they were fun. Some of my favorite childhood moments are playing Fruit Ninja, Angry Birds, Bloons Tower Defense, Temple Run, Candy Crush, and whatnot.
It's like this motherfucker is me. Bro is living through my life. We live the same life.
But they weren't meant to give you the same complete and comprehensive experiences you'd find on video games meant for your computer, Xbox One, or PS4. The hardware simply wasn't capable enough. Gachas in particular had this bootleg reputation to them, looking like cheap cash grabs. There were some good games out there, but when you took into account mechanics like the stamina system preventing you from playing endlessly, suffice to say mobile games were perceived to have noticeably less quality and depth compared to your conventional games. That is, until Genshin Impact.
I will say, I don't think there's anything wrong with a game not having any depth, as long as it's fun. I don't care. I don't need all that shit. Now, when it hasn't and it's done well, it's great. But I'm good with good, just mindless fun. I'm okay with that.
When the game was marketed
I personally loved Farmville. I don't care.
to us, even though you could play it on PC, there was so much to it that took us by surprise. For mobile gamers, the idea that such a title could even be played on a handheld device was unheard of, not just in terms of graphics, but in scope as well. If they changed a few things around and did away with the energy system, they could feasibly have released Genshin Impact as a standalone title like you would a Zelda, Mario, or a Pokemon game. Heck, they could have even made it into an MMORPG with how much foundation the game had. From a gacha point of view, we were used.
However, the stamina system is to artificially reduce the amount of burnout that people play. That way they play for longer. And for like wave release titles like Genshin Impact, it's by design. I actually think if Genshin Impact released with no stamina system, it would have been dead. Like so quickly. Like so quickly dead. Plus the gacha genre community is like conditioned to burning their stamina and waiting for the next update. Yeah. And it also gives you more FOMO to log on and get on because your stamina is going to overcharge.
To 2D sprites, superficial gameplay, still.
I hate stamina and I love stamina at the same time. It's very strange. I think the older I get, the more I hate it. It's not good.
Cutscenes, some games didn't even have any voice acting. Not to mention you couldn't play these on consoles or PC. It would be no exaggeration to say that Genshin Impact didn't just try to break the mold, it trailblazed a new direction for an entire industry. Even to this day, I find myself being surprised at just how big this game is given the initial premise of it, and I mean it when I say Hoyo deserves the success it once had. Where I draw the line is when Hoyo believes they're entitled to lasting success in perpetuity. Or in other words, I take issue with how complacent the company has become with Genshin Impact. As the leading authority in the
Let's fucking go, dude! Another motherfucker woke up! Holy shit! Another creator woke the fuck up! Goddamn! I love when people realize shit that I realized 4 years ago. It is so nice, man. Holy shit. We have a new ally.
For any developer who wanted to enter
He
this
escaped
space.
the Matrix.
Like, it's almost crazy how big of a paradigm shift Genshin cost when you take a look at gacha titles from before 2020 and compare them to the ones after. Even those that don't have any intention of competing against Hoyo, it's practically night and day. Everyone in some capacity was trying to reinvent the wheel, even Hoyo themselves. The succeeding titles, Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero, used Genshin Impact as the benchmark for how to structure those games. Naturally, you can't copy what someone is doing and expect to achieve the same result. You have to do more, and GOT just did. They didn't just see Genshin as a standard to meet, but the standard to beat. The problem with Genshin is that up until now, I feel like they went off the assumption that they couldn't be beat. And when they realized they're not as invulnerable as they once thought, they're procrastinating to scramble to recapture the dwindling.
I'm telling you, bro, Arknight's Enfield isn't going to kill Genshin, but it's going to take another group of players away from the game. Ananta is one that's going head to head. Ananta is going to do even more damage. After that, Azure Pamelia, going to take another chunk. It's going to take another chunk. And what Genshin does not get is how archaic it feels. Because Genshin, when you stop playing Genshin and you play something else and then you go back, it feels fucking terrible. Yeah, when you go back to Genshin, it will feel fucking miserable because it's so dated. And that's why you don't see any new blood going into Genshin. And you don't see any people that quit Genshin or take a break from Genshin go back. You don't see it. There's a reason why MTash didn't go back, right? There's a reason. Anybody that gets out stays out because they realize how fucking shit it feels once you escape the fucking Matrix.
Interest of its player base.
Like, dude, give anybody Wuthering Waves 2.0 traversal system, they will not go back to Genshin. You will not. When you realize all the shit you can do in WoWa for free, you can't do that shit in Genshin unless you pay $400. Probably, honestly, more like $900. Probably get like 3 characters, like 8 Pokemon, some bullshit like that, at least 3.
Is what ultimately resulted in the current state the game finds itself in. Genshin Impact, now more than ever, needs to change. It needs to evolve. For too long, it went through each and every version in a formulaic autopilot fashion. Eastoner made an excellent video essay on this back in spring of last year, which I highly recommend you check out, as it's still more than relevant today. Even though Hoyo single-handedly brought the gacha industry into the public consciousness, a byproduct of that is that their very presence invites challenge, not only from within, but from without. Widespread public attention leads to no shortage of scrutiny and attempts from other parties to try and take advantage of that dissatisfaction. But for a time, it felt like such challenge was a non-issue. I'm sure everyone can recall Tower of Fantasy's miserable attempt at being the so-called Genshin killer, which effectively gave Hoyo a stranglehold over the market for multiple years. They saw no issue with going about things of their own accord. And to be fair, for its time, Genshin was a pretty solid game. There were concerns regarding the lack of meaningful content once making it to endgame, but when you consider what the alternative was, being the greater gacha industry, Genshin was a power creep resistant, free-to-play friendly, multifaceted, open world gacha game intended to appeal to every type of player you can think of.
Sure.
That was practically unheard of within the industry before, and even since. Also, I'm not saying they haven't been putting in any work whatsoever. With each passing version, huge expansions were made to the world of Teyvat, along with a plethora of new places to explore, handcrafted and detailed to make each area feel unique and memorable. Additionally, we saw new methods of exploration and new service mechanics and puzzles, along with a ton.
I will be real. I don't think Liyue and Mondstadt feel that different, to be completely honest. Right? I think Inazuma feel different. I feel like Natlan feel different. Well, Natlan's kind of just like Mondstadt with dinosaurs, but even still, right? I feel like Onkonomiya felt amazing, right? Dragon Spine felt amazing. But just a small nitpick. Other than that, I do think Genshin's world design is great as far as like level structure and environmental structure works, as far as that goes. But the cohesiveness of like the mobs that go in it and the characters that go in it does feel very, very off-putting.
Ton of new content for players interested in that front. So credit where it's due, from an exploration standpoint, they've been keeping it up to date very nicely. However, while gachas are conceptually designed to only be played sparsely throughout the week, Genshin was created to accommodate those who wanted to play for much longer and more seriously.
Sure.
With the game trying to appeal to as wide of an audience as possible, that also meant it needed to maintain appeal for as wide of an audience as possible, consequently leading to the start of its eventual decline in popularity.
Here's a great quote that I have a feeling is going to be in later in the video. A game made for everyone is a game made for no one.
Expansions to the overworld were a welcome addition without question, but the reason it's not being acknowledged as much as it could be is due to the absence of meaningful systems put in place to substantiate it and give us extrinsic motivation to actually go for them. For all the beauty and vastness of the game's scenery, apart from exploring it to open chests, complete puzzles and whatnot, there literally is no other reason for you to revisit any of those spots, causing tons of areas throughout Teyvat to end up mostly being forgotten to time. Events could potentially do so, but therein lies.
You know what's even worse? How every character quest is called Part 1, and they've revisited it for maybe like 2-3 characters. The fact that it's been 4 years and I'm still waiting for Eula's Part 2 of her story quest is a fucking joke. And because it gives the writers such a handicap, because every story is very easy to write if you don't need to worry about the ending. And they just keep stringing you along, they keep on stringing you along, and don't worry guys, the ending's gonna be great, and it never fucking happens. It is so easy to write a half-cooked story when there's no consequences of having to write a nice, neat little bow that wraps everything up. It's just an excuse for fucking half-cooked, lazy-ass, retarded devs to get away for little kids who don't get, oh, dude, when it ends, it's going to be so cool. The ending's going to be so good. It's never going to come.
That's another problem. Genshin's events did little more
unlike your mom
than present ephemeral ways to kill time. Most if not all their flagship events rarely.
And this is the problem. I'm gonna rant for a little bit. I'm gonna fuck. God damn it. All right, we're gonna go off it even more. The problem is these stupid fucking devs. The way they sell their characters is by giving every new character a story quest. And when you have 98, 99, 100 fucking characters, you can't have any type of care for anybody because you know the moment that they're not being sold, you're never going to see them again. A game that's doing this pretty well so far is Zenless Zone Zero, where they're forming big factions to where instead of visiting one character, you visit a group. So you at least get to fucking see them. But all these characters are so fucking different. Like, when was the last time we saw Farina? When was the last time we saw Nahida? And like, these are like, when was the last time we saw Zhongli? Like, these are the most important characters in the fucking game. And we're only seeing them for maybe 2 patches and then they're gone. Right now, let's God forbid. When was the last time y'all saw Chongyun? When was the last time y'all saw Fischl? Klee is one that pops up quite a bit. Quite a bit. When was the last time? Let's think here. Let's go through a list. Yo, chat, when was the last time y'all saw Aloy? When did y'all see Aloy? When did y'all see Barbara last? Bennett. When the fuck you see Dea, Sinnoh, Kali? When was the last time y'all saw fucking Ga Ming? You know what I'm saying? There's too much. And Genshin is overwhelmed because they have no way to revisit these characters we once all cared about. There's no way to fucking do it. So the game just falls on its fucking face. And there's no reason to give a fuck about any of these characters because you know when the banner's over, you're never seeing them again. And the problem is, that would be fine if you did their story and then they were done, but you're not. You're giving us part one of a story that's never going to finish, right? So let's talk about like Yin Lin, for example, in Wuthering Waves. We meet her, we get to know her, we do her whole quest, and it's done. And you're good. And you're like, oh, this is what this character's about. Maybe we'll bump into her, maybe we won't. At least Wuthering Waves has set a structure to where when mass calamity happens, they bring out the whole fucking adventures, right? Now, a blunder they've done is with Calcharo. They've done it with Calcharo. Who the fuck is Calcharo? They didn't even give him shit. But I would rather a character have no story than a part one of a story that's never going to complete. Absolutely fuck that.
If ever, add more to the game in a permanent, lasting way, and while some of them may give us an engaging story bit for a character or two, that only appeals to one part of the widespread player base. Beyond the scope of there being more to explore, the day-to-day experience of Genshin has not changed at all in the 4.5 years it's been out, because anything they do implement is either more the same that we've been doing, or something new, but only for a short period of time. Their constant negligence towards expanding on all aspects of the game was called out on several times in the past, but hardly any action was taken towards it.
By me, by the way, nobody else.
Since that would obviously require more resources, manpower, and wherewithal, and Toyo found no sense of urgency
Remember, I'm the original. Everybody else just an imitator. Remember that.
in doing so when there was nothing that could pose a threat to their bottom line. Even so, the lack of care for evolving and expanding on Genshin Impact has only grown more and more pronounced. Players took notice of all the things the game either did not implement or implemented poorly, and kept them in mind, causing them to be hyper-conscious of it when competing titles eventually came out. Ironically, the first one to pose a threat to Genshin Impact's optics was its own sister title, Honkai Star Rail, published by the same parent company. Up until midway through version 3, Hoyo
Y'all say humble? Yo, chat, where's the lie? If I say I'm bald, that's not me gassing myself up. That's just me saying the fucking truth. I was the first motherfucker to spot the issues with this game and talk about it, while everybody else is living in fucking fantasy land.
expressed little interest in changing their content formula, as evident by version 3's event cycle releasing in the same exact format as version 2, which released in the same exact format as version 1. The only difference in gameplay we had was Dendro, which in fairness did serve to increase their capabilities, but if you recall, around this time is when players started to get bothered by the total lack of significance in the latter half of Genshin's versions, nothing but filler content after filler that did very little to expand on the game in a lasting way. Putting it simply, players were starting to get bored, fed up with the status quo with little interest expressed by the developers to change it. The only expansion that took place was to overworld exploration, but again, exploring every nook and cranny of the map is an area of interest that only a portion of the player base
What the fuck even is that?
exploration, but again, exploring every nook and cranny of the map is
Why do we have a prostitute cat slut rollerblader going up dinosaur
an
land?
area of interest that only a portion of the player base cares to look
That's a character meant to be immersive for the zone.
into. 2023 and 2024 saw the release of multiple titles carrying production value and quality on par with Genshin Impact. Furthermore, after
Brother said TOF was on par with Genshin. Jesus Christ.
3 years of dominance,
Hey. We all thought it for 24 hours at least. We all thought it. Those 24 hours were very promising. And then, man, oh man.
smaller mobile titles began to push for better gameplay quality as well. What initially
Limbus
set Genshin
mentioned-
apart as a mind of innovation
Limbus
has
mentioned
now become
W.
par for the course. Essentially, the competition caught up to Genshin, and players were quick to take notice. From day one of Honkai Star Rail being released, the first thing everyone did, myself included, was take notice at how familiar the systems were to its predecessor, which only made the differences more conspicuous. For instance, the existence of better quality of life adjustments, including gestures of goodwill like free stuff and rewards and whatnot. Then Honkai Star Rail sought to give actual meaningful care for its endgame, presenting multiple different modes that allow for a much more dynamically challenging metagame. Granted, that was the only thing they could really work on given the lack of exploration in the game. Of course, I'd be remiss to not mention the infamous Genshin can never meme that spawned in early 2024 after realizing just how much more attentive to detail and player feedback Star Rail's dev team was compared to Genshin. Mind you, Star Rail's not blameless either, and player goodwill has been diminishing quite rapidly towards that game too, especially in light of the power creep issue and the recent design choice they made towards a certain character. But that's for another video. The point is, by 2024,
So we're going to get a video on Castris. 3.2 dev livestream, boys. Mark your calendar. It is going to be hell on earth.
the growing frustration towards Genshin for not wanting to do anything to innovate on its existing gameplay experience reached an actionable point. Actionable in the sense that players have actively begun to quit the game now that there was an alternative option to pursue. You could say Hoyo doesn't really mind on account of HSR also being run by them, but it's more than that now. Wuthering Waves came out last year, marking the first legitimate external competitor to Genshin Impact. Full disclosure, I'm not a Hoyo shill nor am I a Kuro shill. Many people were excited for the release of Wuwa, even some Genshin fans, because maybe, just maybe, Hoyo would wake up to the fact that they're not the only fish in the sea anymore. They would have to shape up and work on their game. To some extent they did, although the implementation was questionable to say the least. Shortly after Wu was released came the Imaginarium Theater, taking inspiration from Star Wars Simulated Universe and being marketed to us as the new endgame content. The excitement towards the game finally receiving lasting endgame content after nearly 4 years came to a screeching halt at the frankly awful execution of the concept. Even though improvements have been made in subsequent cycles, the message
It's crazy how you don't hear any Genshin CC talking about that. It's crazy. The community has become a feed us what we want to hear or we give up on you. No one said anything bad about this mode. And everybody knows that it fucking sucks. And that's the problem. That's why it gets worse, because no one will fucking talk. Once again, been saying this for nearly 5 years. And then you got people like Ziox and Zadjev going, oh, dude, apples, dude, pumpkins, dude. Jesus.
was loud and clear. Much of the community suspected they
Dude, it's a guy! I like pretending that I like dudes! Holy shit, so hot, dude!
scrambled to quickly release something out of concern for Genshin losing a significant number of players to emerging titles, not only from their own portfolio like HSR and CCZ, but now even Wua, among other games. This might be a hot take, but Imaginarium felt more like a PR stunt than a well-mapped out, well-tested, well-conceptualized, and well-implemented game mode. I honestly don't even do it because of how tedious it is. Suffice to say, patience has begun to run out for the game, following yet
Who
another
cares
series of
if a man likes a man? First of all, I got nothing against gay people. I'm gay. I got no issue with it. Okay? The problem that I have is when people are, okay, here's the issue. Problem is when people are pretending to be gay for views is insane. Because in the Genshin Impact community, if you sexualize a female character, you're considered problematic. So they give in to these pencil neck retard SJW incels on the internet, on the TikToks. That way they don't get labeled as problematic like Doro did for looking at an upskirt of fucking like Eula or fucking Shenhe. Oh, dude, well, I don't want to just actually just be a normal human being. I got to act this way and I got to act that way because if they hear me do this thing, then they're not going to like that thing. And it's like, bro, it's like being a fucking industry plant where like you're just trying to appeal to as many people as possible and you just become this amalgamation of fucking nothing because you have no morals or true values that you stand up for. Because if you do anything that will ruin the amount of views that you get, then you just don't do it. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And your chat just becomes a mindless drone of Taz. And that is all you have. Just anything to avoid any backlash whatsoever. It's like, bro, can we just stand for something?
disappointing filler patches of version 4 player interest in the game was at an all-time low.
Yeah, 100%. The minors and retards get offended by fucking everything.
Sales were down, viewing interest was down, and people were busy checking out all the new stuff going on during the summer. As far as gameplay quality and such goes, the gacha industry caught up to Genshin, except other titles expressed more interest and care to do more than just the bare minimum. All the while, Genshin was stagnating. Expanding more on the game, yeah.
I feel like people would kill themselves if they realized that Ziox has a girlfriend. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? I thought he was gay!
Yes, but doing so in haphazard or temporary ways that did very little, if anything, to improve on the game's overall experience for all types of players. Again, exploration fans were eating well, everyone else, not so much, but remaining fans of the game were optimistic that Natlan would make a big difference. Oh, it certainly made a difference, but not in the way it should have. To save us both some time, let's assume you're well acquainted with all the events that transpired throughout version 5 thus far, so I can get to the point. Natlan was the final testing ground for Genshin Impact to restore player goodwill and bring interest back into the game, lasting interest beyond just the Archon quest. But instead of delivering on that front, they ended up doing the complete opposite by effectively butchering every major possible aspect of the game, from exploration to combat to story to characters. What's even more frustrating is that the 5.0 special program gave us so much hope. All the new interesting things they implemented and the amazing premise of Natlan's different tribes, the setup of the Archon quest being a climactic battle, and of course let's not forget the most important part, everyone's favorite daddy Harbinger, the enigmatic Harbinger Capitano finally gracing us with his presence. There was so much to be excited for. Characters were ruined.
Capitano is gay as fuck. Shit design. Overhyped trash. He literally looks like a Dragon Spine NPC. Y'all lucky I don't remember the name of these characters. He doesn't look like a normal NPC techie. He doesn't. He looks super unique. Yeah. I know, man. Look at that. He has a long cape. Yeah, man. He looks so different. The only reason why people will give a fuck about Capitano is because he was built up to be given a fuck about before he was foddered.
Not just in visual design disparity, but
and by the way, guys, he's not even fucking playable.
but also gameplay. World-building cohesion got completely thrown out the window with all the uncharacteristic things they shoehorned into it. Exploration was expanded upon, but depending on how you look at it, even that got compromised because
And then they fucking killed his ass.
if you don't build for Natlan units like Shilon and Chaska and Mavuika, trying to navigate Natlan's terrain becomes a major hassle. Combat-wise, the game has begun to inflate in power for no discernible reason, with characters becoming stronger purely for the sake of boosting sales, as the content to this day has not really evolved all that much. It just feels like they're throwing random stuff at the game without proper planning and foresight. Any new features they add, or the attempts to appeal to the crowd, come off as contrived and hollow because it's demonstrably clear Hoyo isn't doing this for the sake of improving and building on a game that has brought them so much, but merely
They're doing it to try and play catch up when they should have been ahead for years.
just to draw appeal or to squeeze out more from the player base that still remains. The game has no sense of direction anymore, and people are growing exhausted of it. Statistically, Genshin Impact might still be the biggest gacha game to date, but I can't help but feel like Hoyo just gave up on it. It's the same formulaic autopilot approach they've been doing for the past 4 years, just with a new coat of paint over it every year. Only now it's
And I promise you, all these people playing it on stream, they're burnt out. Hey guys, hate to break it to you. Hate to break it to you. Even Doro, over 2 years ago, was talking to me about transitioning out of this fucking content and playing Dark Souls and Elden Ring instead. These things that you hear at TwitchCon, so there's entire meetups of Genshin creators at TwitchCon saying they're all fucking burnt out. They don't like the shit. And that's fine. They can play the game to make a paycheck. That's fine. It is what it is. But don't sit here and tell me that everything's fucking great when all of your figureheads are burnt the fuck out and don't like the goddamn game. So when I get told, that's not true, Doro likes it, that's not true, Brand likes it, that's not true. Every single one of them would jump on any opportunity to play a game that got them more views. It is not about the enjoyment of the game. It's about how much money they're getting in their career. And once again, every content creator can make career-based choices. But I think it's important to be transparent because that is the fucking truth. Hey, don't get me wrong, man. I faked liking Genshin for at least 6 months. I enjoyed it for a little bit, but I was burnt the fuck out. And when I saw Sumeru, I said, hell no. But you know how fucking dope it was? Being able to go live, press start stream, play like 4 hours of collecting mint, and then see my bank account go up by $2,000. You're goddamn right. But I'm going to be real. I was pretty straightforward about how I felt about the game. I don't think there was anybody who was thinking, oh yeah, this guy loves it.
it's been polluted by nonsensical character design, forced gimmicks, and an even more stagnant
Sumeru was amazing. Yeah, Sumeru was amazing if you liked bad video games. If you liked bad video games, bro, it was so good. It really scratches that itch of, what if I want to play a game that's complete dog shit? It was amazing, bro.
day-to-day gameplay experience. I don't think it's a coincidence that so many big-time gacha games got released in 2024 and are about to release in this year and next year. Ua and ZZ's
If COVID didn't exist and if the numbers weren't good, I would have dropped Genshin Impact in 2 weeks. I wouldn't have made it to Dragon Spawn. They are so fucking lucky a global pandemic happened. Straight up. And hey, I'll be real too. I'm going to say something else. I would have dropped Wuthering Waves too. If 2.0 wasn't the colossal revamp that it was, I would have dropped it. 2.0 saved that game's ass. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. 1.2 was a fucking disaster. 2.1 was also amazing. And they have showed me that they know what they're doing.
aside, there's Ashekos, Girls Frontline Exilium, Infinity Nikki, Azure Familiar, Project Mugen, Neverness Tavernus, Arknights Enfield to name a few. Even if none of these games get anywhere close to Genshin in size, they still fracture a number of Genshin's players who may never come back.
And that's what people don't get. That's why, and people don't get this, here's a hot take for you guys. Every single time I've said this game's a Genshin killer, it's the truth. And you want to know why? Because every single time these games come out, another portion of the fan base says, oh, thank God I can quit. It's a way to get out. And I promise you, once you're out, you're never going back in. You are never going back in. And if you are, you're going back for one story and then you're out again. That is it.
Back to the game. The controversial reception towards version 5 coupled with the anticipated release of multiple new games will continue to chip away at public opinion towards Genshin, and if they don't do something soon, I wouldn't be surprised if version 6, the long anticipated advent of Snezhnaya, doesn't even pique player interest for more than like a month. It might be exciting for a patch or two, but with the game not having evolved in a substantial way for almost 5 years, what's the point?
Yep.
Gotta say, it's frustrating to see this happen. When a company becomes so complacent, they begin to take their success for granted and let a game fester until it eventually rots. Natlan and by extension version 5
Hey. But League can bring it back, though. League of Legends could bring it back. I don't think League is that far gone. I really don't. League is a game that is timeless, and it's PvP. And I'll be real, as long as I can play Dr. Mundo, hit a bitch with a Q, hit him with an E with that heart steel, bitch, I'll still play. Fuck it.
I've had so much potential to be the saving grace that puts Genshin back on top for players, but
Also, when Genshin makes everybody wait an extra year for Snezhnaya, oh man. Yeah, boys, have fun. We're going to Bleach, because now we're not having filler patches, we're having fucking filler arcs. Because they're buying time because they have no idea what to do. That's the reason why the anime was announced 4 years ago. And they haven't even started it yet. Guys. They haven't even started it. Mappa is only now beginning the hiring process for the fucking show. That's what's insane. Yeah, it keeps getting worse.
it's just more of the same vapid and superficial crap. Whether you're someone who enjoys Natlan's character design and the story, or someone who hates it, I think we can all agree that Genshin needs to change in some way, shape, or form. Every way, shape, or form. It needs something new and refreshing to set the game in a different direction than where it's going now. We need actual endgame content that challenges us in a way that's rewarding and fair. We need meaningful story developments and plot progression that keeps us interested in the game long after the end of each version's Archon quest. We need more quality of life updates, like being able to replay old events out the same way other games do. We need updates to systems like the standard banner. We need flagship events that aren't just a bunch of minigames. The game has to evolve. It's been doing the same shit for far too long.
Yep.
Genshin Impact has so much potential to be one of the best games of all time, but Hoyo refuses to actualize that potential.
And here's what's really gonna break the hearts of everybody. And everybody says they have the potential to be the greatest game ever. No, they didn't. They used to. Because here's the crushing reality that people won't accept. It's too late. That ship sailed 2.5 years ago. It's far too late. The amount of predatory practices they've put into place for their game make it a cesspool. And now any game can be better than it, because the reason why it was good is because graphically, engine-wise, nobody could touch it. But now everything can, because the technology is easily accessible. It's actually difficult to make a game worse than Genshin in 2025, because it's just a convoluted cesspool of immersion-breaking mechanics and characters in a world that is all flash and no substance. And you know I'm right. And that's what hurts the most.
Just wish they cared. Genshin doesn't have to be the biggest guy.
Oh, by the way, yo, in case you're new here, Tectone, biggest Genshin hate watcher on planet Earth, by the way. The biggest. There is nobody who hates this game more than me. You can try, but because my hate is rooted in logic, it will never go away.
Gacha game ever since Pokemon TCG.
And that's why your hate for me, that's based in fallacy, will go away. Hey guys, type 1 if you started off as a hate watcher. There was quite a few people that used to hate my ass. Even one of my best friends started off as a hate watcher. Y'all remember LOL Shinya? Bro hated my ass.
Came out, there's no way they can compete against friggin' Nintendo, but I wish the devs cared. Not boilerplate we hear you platitudes, actually care.
I have a hot take. I think Hoyoverse cares more about Genshin Impact than Game Freak cares about Pokemon. I actually think Pokemon is even more far gone. But you know what's crazy? It's actually not too late for Pokemon. And the reason why, it's a franchise and they could just make a new title because it's good. Genshin has built its foundation on mountains of shit and mountains of corpses. It's pathetic. It's beyond fixable now.
It's become abundantly clear they just don't care anymore. The game won't die, but it's just sad to see what it could have been.
Yep.
What do you guys think about this? Do you feel like the game still has a chance, or has Genshin run out of second chances? You're welcome to share in the comments down below. I do apologize for the depressing tone throughout the video, I just felt like it needed to be said. That's it for today though, so if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. Don't forget to follow me on
I like how he's using Wuthering Waves music in the background. Y'all notice that? I noticed that.
Twitter @VarsFarum, join my Discord server, and be sure to check out my discussion on Genshin Impact's modern character design if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Wasn't Vars a Helio shill? Keyword was. He's woken up. He's seen the light. Ooh, 467 dislikes. Ooh, the haters aren't winning anymore, buddy boy. Is this as close as we're getting to why no one plays Genshin? Yep. Genshin had the advantage of being the first high-grade open-world gacha. Now time for the disadvantage. Games that were inspired it are now making it look dated. Good morning, sleepyhead. Good morning, everybody. We've woken up. Great. Amazing video of ours. Amazing video. I have no idea this guy's opinion on me, but I would love to talk to him sometime on the GotchaCast. Would love that. Absolutely would love that. Make sure to go check out his channel, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.